Audio Jungle.
Imagine a world where everyone has everything that they need. Now imagine a community clinic in rural KwaZulu-Natal in the not-too-distant future, similar to the one that I attended when I was a child. A panicked mother runs towards the clinic with her little girl. And like me, this little girl suffers from asthma. And she can't properly inhale the dose from her inhaler. Research has shown that the number of new asthma cases among African children has increased over the past 2 decades, rising from 34 to 50 million. While there may normally have been panic because the clinic hasn't yet received their last delivery of life-saving equipment, the nurse brings out a 3D printed asthma spacer. A spacer is an attachment that fits onto an inhaler and holds the medication in place so that it's easier to breathe into the lungs. For young children especially, a spacer is critical to ensure the ease of administering that aerosolized medication. In the past, this would have been a major issue. But now that the clinic has a 3D printer, everything has changed. 3D printing will help change the future by being able to print medical supplies like this right there and then on demand. Supplies such as asthma spacers, various size mouthpieces, and different adapters that are either often misplaced, broken, or simply never arrived. 90% of medical devices like these are often imported, and as a result, very expensive. Due to financial constraints and issues with their last-mile journeys, most life-saving equipment fail to reach their final destination. But with 3D printing, being able to produce these open-source, freely available items would make a profound impact in under-resourced environments. This is 3D printing for development in action. 3D printing enables us to create unique, tangible solutions for local challenges. In other words, having those solutions made for Africa and made in Africa. But first, let's understand what 3D printing is. Essentially, 3D printing is the process of creating a three-dimensional solid object from a digital file. It's also known as additive manufacturing because it follows an additive process, building the object layer by layer. With 3D printing, we can create just about anything, from the asthma spacer I showed you previously, to 3D printers that can print their own strong female African names, to inspiring people who we admire. But just imagine what we could achieve if we use this technology to target uniquely African challenges. If we use it to think outside of the box and add just a little African ingenuity, we would have an unlimited capacity for positive change on our continent. For the rest of the time that we have left, I'd like to share with you inspiring examples of how 3D printing is making a positive impact all around the world and changing people's lives. The benefits of 3D printing in healthcare are undeniable. With 3D printing, we are able to provide pragmatic medical solutions. Healthcare workers in developing countries often experience challenges that affect their ability to provide essential services. Many hospitals and clinics often face a shortage of functional hospital beds and wheelchairs. Today, 3D printing now allows for the low-cost repair of those missing or broken items. A technician trained in basic design could use free apps on their phone to scan those missing or broken parts and manufacture them either on site or nearby and really quickly fix that problem. Within hours, equipment ordinarily cast aside for the dumpster could be back in circulation aiding capacity either at the clinic and perhaps even assisting patients to return home in those functional wheelchairs, as opposed to wheelbarrows, which is so often sadly seen. With the development of this technology, even more advanced applications could be explored, with the goal of providing personalized care and treatment. You may have recently heard of the world's first 3D printed middle ear transplant conducted here in South Africa, where 3D printing was used to design a patient-specific prosthesis. Being able to create unique solutions for patients in this way would lead to higher rates of surgical success, which is phenomenal for the patient. Now, in the apartheid regime, the rightful owners of land were forcibly removed and relocated, leaving today in South Africa more than 5 million people living in informal housing settlements. Having worked in the township of Philippi, this affordable housing challenge is a reality we encounter every day. But this legacy of inequality is not unique to South Africa and can be felt in many developing countries around the world. So what could 3D printing do about this? Well, in recent years, NASA opened up a challenge to 3D printing companies to see if someone could design and print a structure suitable for the conditions on Mars. Well, one did, and it's currently being tested on the banks of the Hudson River in New York. Its prototype was printed in less than 30 hours and was made from materials capable of withstanding the high levels of radiation present on that planet. So if we can achieve all this, just imagine what this technology would mean for people living all across Africa. 3D printing for development would go some way in solving the housing crisis in South Africa. And vulnerable families could move into safe, secure, sustainable homes a lot faster than they currently do today. Now, 3D printing also has the potential to reinvent developing economies by enabling entrepreneurs and small businesses to meet the demands of ever-changing customer segments. Approximately 50% of small businesses fail partly due to a lack of business development support. Today, part of that support should include rapid prototyping and the availability of manufacturing on-demand services. 3D printing gives entrepreneurs the ability to test new markets with new products, to replicate those items, and to scale really quickly. These images were taken last year at a local event supporting female entrepreneurs. My team and I had worked with a group of Cape Malay fashion designers from all across Cape Town who had never before thought of using 3D printing in their creative process. We worked together throughout the entire journey, within days helping them create these one-of-a-kind, unique pieces of jewelry and accessories to complement some of their garments. By now having these digital designs, should they need to, they could change certain elements of their designs, ready to meet the demands of different consumer preferences. And they could scale really quickly, locally or internationally, making and selling more bespoke accessories than they ever could before. And by being able to produce on demand, their need for huge amounts of stock would be reduced, and they need not worry about things such as storage, theft, or damage. So using 3D printing in this way would greatly reduce their risk and increase their chance of success. And they could simply focus on growing their business with just one click of a button. With the adoption of 3D printing by global companies such as Nike, Adidas, and Louis Vuitton, access has always been limited by this imaginary barrier where it's been seen as an exclusive or privileged technology. 3D printing can change the world, but not if we limit who can and can't participate. The value of 3D printing in solving problems around the world can also be seen in creating more inclusive education. Today, by using a touch display, visually impaired users at Stanford are able to create and design their own 3D models independently of their sighted mediators. And by doing so, this increases their agency and engagement with the technology. In the developed world, children and adults have two major advantages. They have access to the technology, and they have developed the skill set with which to use it. Access to 3D printers in the United States, for example, is a non-issue, with schools actively using them to help students visualize these abstract concepts in subjects such as science, technology, and maths. And adults can learn and develop their skills in vibrant maker spaces available in many public libraries. But with even these examples, and there are many more, the adoption of 3D printing in developing countries still lags way behind. So why is the 3D printing for development ecosystem not where it should be in South Africa? Some of our challenges that we face include our youth's poor digital literacy skills, and as small businesses, the lack of relevant entrepreneurship support, and the reskilling of some to accommodate these technologies. Adoption of this 3D printing for development movement requires two things: education around the relevance and the opportunity it brings to not only make the things that we want, but the things that we need, and the creativity and critical thinking skills required to unlock that untapped potential. With Africa having the largest population of young people in the world, and South Africa a staggering unemployment rate of 29%, it's critical for these skills to be developed. From a grassroots perspective, my experience in the industry has shown me that while 3D printing is gender neutral and all-inclusive in other parts of the world, it is only beginning to become so in South Africa through the efforts of champions for the cause, a few nonprofits and international organizations working closely together to help underserved youth, particularly in rural environments, catch up with the rest of the world. In this economic downturn, the global 3D printing industry is growing every year by 23% and will soon be valued between 100 and 200 billion US dollars. With it being reported that Africa contributes to just less than 1% of the total international talent pool skilled in 3D printing, it just makes sense to support the development of these skills. 3D printing for development enables us to view our problems from a different perspective. One focused on the upliftment of people through unlimited opportunity. It gives us the ability to design solutions for people and their problems, and a clear purpose in creation, and the concept of manufacturing things on demand, making things only as and when we need them, which not only looks after our needs, but the needs of our planet. And it gives accessibility to all. Communities filled with people all across Africa living very different lives in different jobs with different needs and different problems. So 3D printing for development could ensure in the future that everyone has everything that they need. As I close, I'd like to leave you with two questions. Could we, as Africans, be brilliant enough to face our challenges using this technology? And are we bold enough to try? Thank you.